We are in mid-spring mode across much of the United States. There's not much in the way of cool air. Things are pretty much reasonable for what you would expect for this time of year. We've got pockets of severe weather, but nothing truly widespread. So we'll take a look at everything that's going on, including a look at Mother's Day and the entire weekend. And who else knows what other subject matters we'll come up with tonight, right here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Whether you are a professional landscaper or a do-it-yourselfer, get your truck over to Omni and get all the mulch and topsoil and sand and anything else that you need with the best prices you can find anywhere. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website is
OmniTrueValue.com.
And Tempest by Weatherflow. Get that revolutionary Tempest weather system. I have two of them, by the way. And join the fastest growing observing network on the planet. They also have all sorts of weather gadgets and merchandise and sweatshirts and all kinds of weather paraphernalia. So there's a $10 word, paraphernalia. So check out the link at the top of the chat board. The referral link will take you there. And if you decide to purchase something, use the coupon code Joe and Joe Weather Show. What'll they get, Joe, for that?
They get 10% off, Joe.
They do. They certainly do. So, yeah, I was kind of looking at everything that was going on today weather-wise and thinking, we're in this sort of place. It's not that we're anxious to have apocalypses going on at various locations, but the weather's becoming much more localized, as it usually does. It's getting to the period of mid-spring, and that's sort of what we're seeing across the U.S. There are a few pockets here and there where there's stuff going on, and then there are other places where the weather's actually quite nice, and I think we could continue that trend for the next few days.
Now, a friend of my sister's and my daughter, I should say, and in fact, my daughter is going to be the maid of honor on Saturday, and she's been looking very carefully at the weather for both herself and also for her friend, and at least the Weather Service, both the National Weather Service in Albany and the National Weather Service in New York, are now saying that there's a chance for showers on Saturday. And the only thing I could see that could possibly cause that is a cold front, which probably will move through early in the day on Saturday. But I also think that this is a classic case of Antoine's rule. Tex Antoine, the late Tex Antoine, TV weatherman on Channel 4 and then later Channel 7 in the 50s and 60s. Sometimes when a cold front was going to move through the region and the Weather Service didn't have a chance of showers mentioned, Tex would say, but a front is a front. And so long as there's a front out there, there's always the chance there might be a shower. And so he mentioned that. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes Tex was right and the Weather Service was wrong. Tex wasn't a meteorologist, but I guess, you do this long enough, you come up with your little idiosyncrasies of forecasting. So now what I'm saying here for Saturday, for all of you who have something planned outdoors, is from my viewpoint, the front moving through is going to provide us with nothing more than just some clouds. I really don't think at this moment that there are going to be any showers, but the Weather Service, I guess, has decided that since there is a front moving on through the area, why not, for the heck of it, throw in a shower? Antoine's rule. So that's the only thing. Other than that,
it kind of looks. I'm just running. We'll show it on to everybody a little later. It almost looks like what happened last night and this morning. There's a front, a little front with a little wave on it that comes over the top, and Saturday morning it's showing some showers, but by early afternoon they're all gone. I mean, she's not getting married at daybreak, is she?
No, she's not.
Okay, well then I don't think she's going to have a problem.
I don't think so either. I don't think so.
It really, when you look at it, it really looks like what we had today, which was, that stuff that moved through overnight and slid to the south early this morning and then the cloud line gradually shifted southward, and during the afternoon, everybody was in pretty good shape for the most part.
But I was telling somebody yesterday, I said, I honestly don't see it getting wet here until maybe sometime early next week, probably Monday. But all of a sudden, out of the blue, comes this shower threat on Saturday. And even if it does shower, how much possibly are we going to wring out of that? I don't think
Not much.
No, Joe Rayo's daughter is not getting married. And already, and Chris Cioffi is offering congratulations, even though she was uncertain if it's my daughter. No, my daughter is the maid of honor in this wedding. She is not, I repeat, unless there's a big surprise for me, he's not getting married. Very good friend, very, very lovely girl is getting married. Well, actually, it's so nice. I often refer to her as my pseudo daughter. She's a very sweet girl, and she's tying the knot with her beau on Saturday. We're all invited. We're all looking forward to it, and it better not rain. That's all I could say for her.
Well, I think you could be optimistic.
Yes.
Excuse me. Welcome to everybody tonight on watching the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Everybody on the chat board. The regulars are all here, which is good. And a few lurkers in the background. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications, as if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can participate in the Joe and Joe Weather Show when we were on. And we're not some weather show that just pops up at random here or just shows up when the world is coming to an end. We're here even on days where the world is not coming to an end. Monday through Thursday at 7:35, although this Thursday we will not be having a show. So just a reminder, I mentioned it yesterday, mentioned it again today. No show on Thursday. And Sundays at 11 a.m. And Fridays and Saturdays, we usually take those 2 days off, unless there's a storm around. And then if there is an apocalypse or Armageddon or something resembling therein, we'll be here. And we'll let you know about it too. So anyhow. Hey, did you see that story? I saw a story about in Jersey somewhere that thought maybe a meteor or a meteorite hit. Did you see that? Oh, you did hear about it. Okay.
Yeah, I did. And that has been known. In fact, there's a place up in Connecticut. I wonder if Dennis Cassie is on the line. He certainly will remember this. Not the same place, but in the town of Wethersfield, Connecticut, they actually had not one, but two meteorites, or meteoroids. They're meteoroids when they're floating out in space. They're meteors as they streak through the atmosphere, and they're meteorites when they land on the ground. Two meteorites hit the same town over a span of, I think, 15 years, back in the 70s or early 80s. And in this particular case in New Jersey, pretty good sized stone from space came. And you talk about mana, pennies from heaven, Joe. I mean, my goodness, the collectors, those who, collect these things, these meteorites, or museums, they're going to pay a pretty penny for that sample. I wish it happened. In a way, I wish it happened in my house.
Yeah.
I mean, for the amount of money that they're going to get, whoever owns that house, for the amount of money that a collector or a museum is going to probably pay for that, more than will pay off repairing the hole in the roof and then some. So, but that was interesting that happened. It happens. It sometimes happens, and it happened this weekend in New Jersey.
Well, Christinapedia says, haha, like in the movie Don't Look Up, Joe and Joe will be doing the show as the world explodes. So I'll just respond to that, Christinapedia, by saying that should the world explode, that would be the title of the show, a show that we would do. And of course, naturally, an exploding world would require rebuilding materials, and you can get those at Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York.
I have three.
Get the sponsor's name out as much as possible.
Exactly. 3 dates. May the 9th, 1970. On this day in 1970, it was a Saturday. It was the first time it hit 90 degrees for that particular year, and it came just 2 days after a morning low of 38. So it went from 38 to 90, and this came 3 weeks earlier than the average date for New York's first reading in the 90s. That was in 1970. 7 years later, on the same date, May the 9th, 1977, a gray, damp, downright cold day felt more like early March. The high was 44, the low was 36, 20 degrees below average. The high was, in fact, 25 degrees colder than average and 40 degrees colder than the high of 3 days earlier in 1977. And this also became the latest date on which a trace of snow was to fall in Central Park. This would be the last time a temperature in the 30s was reported this late in May until 2020, when a low in the 30s also occurred on this date. And incidentally, 3 years ago in 2020, the morning low was 34. Wind chills were in the mid-20s. It was a record for the date for Central Park's coldest reading in May since 1891. And snow flurries on this date 3 years ago that fell before daybreak tied May 9th, 1977 as the latest date for a trace of snow. This morning's readings was 2 degrees colder than April's coldest reading. So there you go. On this day, we had 90 degrees. We had temperatures in the 30s. We had snow in 77. We had snow in 2020. And what else? There was also a day, I think there was another day when it was very hot on this date. Yes, 1979. The high at Central Park reached 94, 25 degrees above average, the year's first reading in the 90s, and it was a record for the date that still stands. So you see, folks, you talk about going back and forth in the extremes. May the 9th, hot, cold, flaky, you name it, this day has seen it in New York City.
Yeah, you just reminded me, too. I better do this right now because it's my future son-in-law's birthday today, so I have to send him a text. And unfortunately, I was going to try to do it here from my computer, but the program has decided to lock up. So I guess we'll have to just wait until it starts to work again. But that's my issue, isn't it? Okay, so on that particular note, we could start off with the watches and warnings map. Warning. So here we go. Let me get this. Yes, warning. It's nice that we're both in good moods. Good moods are a good thing.
Yes.
All right. So
how do I sound? I'd like to ask. You already told me how I sound.
You sound good to me. How does the audience think Joe sounds? He's playing with a new microphone today.
Using a brand new microphone. Not only does it do, it lights up too. So it really is. It's a color microphone, and I thought I'd try it out tonight. So
well, Scott says perfect. Paul Roman sounds good. With a thumbs up, so it does sound good. And of course, that microphone was purchased from the famous Spiegel Catalog Company, Spiegel, Chicago, Illinois, 60609. Okay, hey, as long as I sound good too, I hope I sound good.
We didn't get it from the Michael C. Fina Company, did we?
No, nor did while doing your research using the Collier's Encyclopedia to find out what's the best microphone to use. Right. Anyway.
Or Compton.
Yes, or Compton's Encyclopedia, neither of which exist anymore in book form anyway. Okay, so we've got 2 working severe thunderstorm watches. One is being whittled away in southwestern Missouri and southeastern Kansas, so we've got a couple of warnings in play there. There's a severe thunderstorm watch up for eastern North Carolina, and that also looks like it's getting slowly whittled away as well. Various small areas like in southeast Texas, northwest Mississippi, southeastern Montana, north central Wyoming, northwestern Colorado, southeastern Idaho. You have a number of those counties in there with flash flood watches, and also we've got flood advisories up in the parts of the northern Rockies. Again, between rain and snow melt, they've got rising rivers. Meanwhile, at least we resolved the mystery here, Joe. Those smoky-looking white clouds yesterday, those milky clouds, apparently coming from a wildfire in Alberta. And with the northwest flow in the upper atmosphere, I guess it's no surprise. In fact, on the northeast satellite loop, it's a stripe.
Really?
Yeah, I mean it's just like a stripe. It's almost perfectly shaped too. There's a northern boundary and a southern boundary, and if you follow it, the distance between the two looks pretty even from the northern Great Lakes all the way out into the Atlantic.
That is amazing that it's in Alberta, but it still managed to hold together in that stripe all the way over to the eastern seaboard. That really is something.
Yeah, it really is. I'm just looking at it. It's amazing. And also, you can see the blow up of thunderstorms in southeast Virginia and now in eastern North Carolina and also in parts of South Carolina, which we'll pick up on the radar in the moment. We'll go to the wide satellite view. And again, you look at this, there's some kind of rotation of some sort in the western Gulf states that's moving northward into Texas, and that's bringing some heavy rain and some thunderstorms there. And then you see the blow up in Kansas that actually was there from this morning. They had you don't often see severe thunderstorm watches in the early part of the day, but there was one this morning over central Kansas, and then it moved over into eastern Kansas, during the parts of eastern Kansas into Missouri for this afternoon and into this evening, and you're seeing the blow-ups there. Some moisture in the Pacific Northwest coming in, but nothing really, extraordinary from what we're seeing at the moment. And here's the radar. Let's go to North Carolina and take a look. And we've got some cells there. Nothing on the radar at all in the northeast and mid-Atlantic states, but we've got just a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in eastern North Carolina. It's a little patch there that's moving southeastward. Also some offshore south of Hatteras. There's a warning, looks like right over Charleston at the moment in South Carolina with some scattered storms there, some scattered storms in southern Georgia. And then you go back into Texas. Actually, you can see the rotation here, the upper low that is now just north of, looks like just north of Lake Charles. And you see the bands that are around that with some showers and thunderstorms on the north side and also on the south side. So this is the sort of thing, Joe, that you get underneath it, you get clobbered with rain.
Yes, you can. I did, and the one thing that we're not going to see much of, at least over the next several days here locally in the tri-state area, is rain. Again, I mentioned that chance for showers on Saturday, but how much are we going to get out of that, if anything at all? Next chance, Joe, I think will not come until early next week. We have kind of a storm coming and a combination, kind of a tandem of a warm front and a cold front moving on through, and that could provide us with some showery rains here for Monday. But right now, it looks fairly dry for the next several days. And tomorrow, as I said yesterday, I'm nominating as the pick of the week. Room temperature tomorrow, mid-afternoon, 72, blue skies, save for any haze or smoke from that stuff from Alberta. But it looks like a beautiful day, low humidity, and just overall just a great day. And then we'll start warming things up in the bullpen, temperature-wise, later on in the week. Thursday, maybe upper 70s and probably at or above 80 for Friday. And before that front passes on through on Saturday.
Can you pull up? Hang on a second. I just messed up something. Just give me a moment here to repair. Okay. Can you pull up the radar out of southwestern Missouri, southeastern Kansas? Because there's a rather impressive looking bowing line of thunderstorms that's moving southeastward with a couple of warnings. I thought maybe we could give a close-up look.
Well, we'll do that. Let me just go to the old site here. Hang on. Come on. Come up. There you go. And now we go to to radar. And let's go with 3 hours around. Would you like to allow me to share?
No, you're good. Oh, you're all set to go.
Oh, how do you like that?
Knock yourself out.
How do you like that? All right, so let's go to EAX. Come on. Whoops. Ooh, look at that, Joe.
Just a second.
Pretty. That's a pretty. That's crossing over from Kansas into Missouri, or is it Missouri? That's a pretty significant line that's coming on through. And in addition to that, notice that there's some pop-up heavy-duty storms here, and the two of them kind of meet together toward the end of the loop.
Yeah, no, that's a nice looking line. That whole complex has been pretty much solid since this morning when it was in central Missouri. I don't know if that's if that qualifies as a derecho.
Am I not? I'm assuming up here is Kansas City. I think this is passing.
It's south. It's south of Kansas City.
Yeah.
So we've got a severe thunderstorm warning up for Cherokee. This is, by the way, at 7:58 p.m. Eastern time. And as I always like to say, if you're watching this on a replay, obviously, because we're live when we do this, so obviously if you're watching this on a replay, it's dated. So make sure you go to weather.gov, to your local National Weather Service forecast office, to check out what the latest is. This severe thunderstorm warning is for Cherokee, Dade, Jasper, Lawrence, and Newton counties. On the Kansas, those counties are both. Some of them are in Kansas, and some of them are in Missouri. Don't ask me which ones are which, so I have no idea. We have another one that's got another 32 minutes to go for Pratt and Stafford counties in Kansas, and also for Barton, Cedar, Dade, St. Clair, and Vernon counties in Missouri. Another one for Bates and Henry County in Missouri. And yet another one. Now, this is going in the east. We've got one that has 16 minutes to go for Pratt and Stafford County in Kansas. And also in Oklahoma, we've got Craig, Nowata, Osage, and Washington counties with a severe thunderstorm warning. Oh, my God, it's just all over the place here. We've got a couple in North Carolina, too. Always forget, is it Beaufort or Beaufort?
I've always called it Beaufort.
Yeah, I think it's Beaufort in Texas and Beaufort in North Carolina, or I hope whichever it is, somebody correct me. And Martin counties in North Carolina, also in South Carolina for Berkeley and Charleston counties. As we said, we showed you that thunderstorm that was sitting around right over Charleston with the severe thunderstorm warning. So kind of busy-ish there on the radars tonight.
I don't know where my cursor is now. If you happen to live, and I'm sorry, I don't know the cities and towns in western Missouri all that well, but if you live where the cursor is, you've got a pretty wild sight. You're watching the advance of a severe thunderstorm line, a squall line, coming in from the west, and at the same time as you turn and look toward the southeast, here's this cluster of storms, heavy-duty storms coming into your area from the south and east, moving northwest, and somewhere the twain does meet, right about here. So it must be a pretty wild night if you're in that particular region of Missouri to encounter all of that.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, so let's get back to what's on the national radar here, and we've got some showers up in Minnesota, across North Dakota, through Montana, northern Idaho, back to Washington State, and then also scattered around other parts of Wyoming and into western Nebraska, and even a few showers scattered around in parts of California. The Storm Prediction Center tonight has, just updating the maps here, an enhanced risk in that area in Kansas into Missouri, large area of slight risk in Southern Virginia and North Carolina. That's mostly played through. Marginal risk for the Texas coast, going northeastward into just about all of Louisiana. The marginal risk in the plains goes all the way up into western North Dakota, and a small area of marginal risk in Montana. And that does come with some tornado risk. The Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow has 2 to 5% tornado risk in eastern Colorado and into western Nebraska and southeastern Wyoming, and a slight risk that goes from northwest Texas all the way up into southeastern Montana. Small area of marginal risk along the Texas coast and also in western Louisiana. Nothing in the northeast and mid-Atlantic, and even down to me. I've got some nice dry air. My dew points have been dropping all day, so down to last I checked, the dew point here was in the upper 50s. It was a little higher earlier today, and at 77, got to 80 for a high this afternoon. I had a dew point of 62 when I checked that out. Then on day 3, which is Thursday into Friday, we've got South Dakota, Nebraska, western Iowa, northwest Missouri, just about all of Kansas except for the southwest, and north central Colorado, all under, Oklahoma, all under a slight risk. And they also have a general thunderstorm risk for Thursday into Friday, Joe, from upstate New York across southern and central New England.
That's interesting. Could that possibly be in advance of the cold front? This
is for Thursday into Friday morning. Front's for Friday into Saturday morning. There is a little shortwave in the northwest flow that's coming around on Thursday. I noticed the GFS did pop up a couple of showers there. And, 7-day rainfall amounts. Now, this goes to next Tuesday night. So much of what you see in the Northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states is going to be after Sunday. I mean, there's going to be some stuff around before that, but the vast majority of this is going to be after Sunday. And it's got a half to 3/4 of an inch from southern New England to western Pennsylvania, and then across into Ohio and Indiana. Then it really goes gangbusters again. Big rains in Texas, several to many inches. There's a patch there of 7 to 10 inches in south central Texas, pushing up further north. You certainly have several inches as far north as southern Oklahoma and northwestern Texas. And then another area of 1.5 to 3 inch rains in the northern plains. So kind of wet there, but not so much here in the eastern states. And my maps for some reason are a little slow in loading tonight, but I just want to take a look. I'm going to bring up the upper air, and we'll start with that.
And I have the smoke map up there.
What's
on my end? If you want to bring that up.
I'm sorry. Say again.
The fire and smoke map.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Okay, it's all yours.
So you can see, as Joe said, the red is indicative of fire activity in Alberta, and matching, I suppose, the upper level winds, which go up a little ways like a ridge and then curve down and across from the northwest. And you can see that area. It's in various shades of gray, but you can see that the darkest shades of gray are right over the northeastern part of the United States. In fact, I could zoom in here, and you could see it even better. The green indicating that there's no forest or brush fire activity, thank God, over our part of the country. But look at all of that haze and smoke generated by those fires in Alberta. And the thickest band on this map, Joe, cuts across upstate New York. I mean, we saw that on the satellite picture, but it appears that the layer where the haze is or smoke is at its thickest is like over the Adirondacks, Vermont, New Hampshire, across Massachusetts. You see that right there, and that the time of this map is May 9th, 8:02 p.m., which is just a few minutes ago. So there's your reason why the skies are not beautifully clear. It's not a high clouds. It's because of the smoke. And I've been saying that tomorrow is going to be a pick of the weekday, emphasizing the blue sky and the golden sun. Well, maybe the sun will be more amber than golden, attenuated or accentuated by the haze and by the smoke. And maybe it's not going to be necessarily a blue sky. It may be steely blue or kind of hazy, again because of the smoke generated from those forest fires. But there you go. That's how things look right now across the Northeast. You take a look at the rest of the country, and the rest of the country pretty well is pretty much out in the clear. The main batch of schmutz is over the northeastern part of the country. I would suppose, however, Joe, that as we get deeper into the spring and summer and more fire activity occurs, especially up in Canada, we'll be seeing more and more of this stuff shift over our part of the country. It's a shame. It really is a pity that you get into the nice mild or warm part of the year, and unfortunately, those blue skies get mussed up by all of that smoke and haze.
Yeah.
Forest fires that pop up.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
I don't know.
No, nothing.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
That's right, Smokey the Bear. And we got the northwest flow, which of course explains why all of this is coming down here. And there you have it. There's a nice deep upper low between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. You've got troughing on the west coast and a nice little ridge in the middle. But there's also the upper low that you see here back in southeast Texas. And that's that rotation that we showed. Of course, that's trapped underneath the ridge. That really doesn't get to go anywhere. It's just going to sit there, which is one of the reasons why WPC is showing as much rain as they are. And, we pretty much are staying in this northwest flow right right into the weekend. The ridge kind of nudges its way eastward, but then there's another short wave, and you see it there in southeastern Canada Friday night. That drops down into New Brunswick and into Maine. Now, that's going to push this cold front that Joe mentioned earlier, sometime probably late Friday night or early Saturday morning. The air behind that's dry and cool, or cooler. So I don't know. It doesn't seem to me. I think you're going to get some moisture that's in the plains that sort of rides over the top of the ridge. How much is going to be able to survive in that northwest flow is really questionable in my view. So,
yeah.
So it may do what this one did, where the models were showing that we were going to see some showers last night and this morning, and then moving out, only to see the area just basically weaken and dry up and shift further south. I wouldn't be shocked, Joe, if that winds up happening again. And
it was surprising to me because when I went to bed last night, I said, okay, I'm going to wake up in the morning. There's probably going to be a lot more clouds than sun, and then we'll have to just gradually clear things out. I woke up this morning, looked out the window. Wow. I mean, it was, what happened to all the clouds that were supposed to be there? It was, the only thing I got out of this was in the afternoon, we got that schmutz from the fire activity. But I think you're right. I think we're going to see pretty much the same thing late in the week or the start of the weekend. Not much in the way of any kind of moisture that can be supported. We'll see if maybe some clouds, but that'll be about all.
Yeah. Ridging out in the west and in the northwest actually gets even stronger as we move into next week. Big upper high in northwest Canada there. And that's going to be supportive of troughing that's going to want to drop into the eastern part of the United States, particularly later on next week. And you see it there. This is for the middle part of next week. And then there's another upper low up in Hudson Bay that's rotating around and around and around and not really going anywhere. So looks like the flow's kind of flattish, but it certainly doesn't look like the type of pattern where it gets hot. And we said that yesterday, and I kind of hold to that feeling here for the next couple of weeks. You'll get the odd day here and there where it gets it might get very warm, but I'm not seeing anything that would argue for a stretch of 90-degree weather anytime soon.
Well, Judah Cohen, and of course, a lot of people are very upset with Dr. Cohen because of what happened over the winter time and the forecast that suggested but never did come rolling through with winter. But Dr. Cohen says now looks like the atmosphere is getting an early jump on summer with at least 2 predicted heat domes by my own definition, his definition, along the northern edge of the continents. What might this portend for this summer? And his blog is now available for an early look and also for a nominal price. But he does show, Joe, that there is that, as you just mentioned, that big ridge building up in western North America. what he refers to, I guess, a heat dome, and maybe suggesting that out west we may get a jump on the summer season by seeing some abnormally warm, if not downright hot temperatures in the coming days ahead.
And the models are not exactly wiping out large areas of precipitation here. With precipitation, I should say. There's a low there in Colorado that's spinning away for Thursday into Friday. Again, much of that moisture wants to go northward. It can't move eastward because of the northwest flow. So we've got tomorrow, which is going to be a really nice day, pretty much up and down the entire eastern seaboard, and kind of holding on to that even on Thursday. West wind on Thursday. I think we could probably challenge the 80-degree mark in some places, particularly in the local hotspots in the northeast and northern mid-Atlantic. The low that runs up into the plains, you can see why they're going for big rains up in the northern plains. And then you see also something that comes out of Mexico that suddenly shows some heavy rains in Texas, and that comes over the weekend, which is why the WPC is doing what it's doing. There's this front. Here it is for Friday night and Saturday morning, Joe. It again looks just like this is Saturday morning at 8 a.m. It's picking up on what looks like some showers that are going by, but by 1 o'clock, by 2 o'clock, they're long gone, even long before that. And then everything just gets suppressed to the south. Mother's Day, I think, looks fine. And then you got this, what's left of what's going to be happening out in the plains moves eastward. But again, much the same way. It comes east. You got that northwest flow that we're on the edge of, and that's going to want to take that moisture and want to shove it more to the south, which is what the GFS is hinting at here, and doesn't really bring anything in until maybe Tuesday. Into Wednesday, into early Wednesday morning, with a more important cold front coming through. So kind of a tricky pattern to forecast because there's a lot of moving parts here. But that the northwest flow, there's a few good things about northwest flows if you like nice weather, particularly as you get deeper into the spring. It keeps the humidity down. So, okay, so if it gets too low, then you got wildfire risk, and I get that. But I mean, in terms of overall comfort, you're talking about air masses that are going to primarily have low dew points. So humidity is not an issue.
It's like I was talking about yesterday or the day before about that one year, that summer, I think it was like in 2008 or 2009, the Garden of Eden summer for us. We had hardly any spells of extreme heat, and the humidity was kept down low. And that's what really makes, I don't know about you, I could put up with 90 degrees as long as the dew points are, in the comfortable 50s or 40s. A dry heat they have.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. As long as the dew points are somewhere in the, 60 or less, I can deal with it. When you start to get, when it starts to be, you get those. We've had those days where the dew points have been in the 70s. That's just torture. That's like you're living in a bowl of hot soup.
It's not happy.
No, it's not.
To be a happy person in that hot. Did you say hot soup?
Hot soup.
Oh, what kind? Cream of mushroom or? Oh.
Bouillabaisse.
Or Vichy style, which is cold soup.
Ooh. Oh. Trying to think of if I have anything. I did notice, actually, Ruthless Goat, who hasn't been on the chat board in a while, he's just always busy trying to keep himself out of Facebook jail, sent me a link to somebody who already put up the first winter forecast. Well, it wasn't even a winter forecast per se, but it was the first one, the first video that I've seen of somebody actually already talking about next winter. And I'm just, so I got a chuckle out of it. I didn't really say much. I kind of expected as I was watching it, the standard snowfall forecast for the wintertime, which is, how it snowed out west last winter is how it's going to snow in the east this winter type forecast. which we know never pans out that way, or hasn't, and certainly in the last couple of years. But all he said was that, which was pretty obvious, which is the fact that next winter is likely to be different than from the last couple of winters. Okay, I suppose. There's no way to go from but up when you've had 2 inches of snow for the entire winter in a place where it normally gets at least 30.
But there were 2.5 consecutive years. I say half because we transitioned from La Nina as we moved into the this past winter, and then La Nina completely collapsed along about January and February. So I mean, like, yeah, if you're saying that next winter, this upcoming winter is going to be different, it will be. It's going to be different because it's not going to be a La Nina, at least the start of to a La Nina. And I tell you what, to me, it seemed more like an El Nino winter, a strong El Nino winter. However, next winter, the El Nino pattern may be a weak one, which generally means that it could be rather stormy and even rather snowy pattern. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who wants to even attempt to make a prediction?
It's not even mid-May. For God's sake, at least get into the summer before you start. At least you can, then you can sort of justify it by saying, okay, he's putting up a video because he can't stand the summer heat, so he's trying to make himself feel colder. All right, that's fine, but it's mid-May. God, give it a rest already.
Yes,
give it a rest already. I don't have much else to talk about. I mean, the weather down here has been pretty uneventful.
I have a Briller Jeopardy.
Oh, you do? Oh, fabulous. Okay.
The chairman is not on tonight, but I do have. He left me with a couple of questions, and I'm going to round them up right now, and we can finish out on that. Where are you? There you are. All right. So on this Briller Jeopardy, giving the following states. Let me see how many states. I only have 2 tonight.
Yeah, I only had 2 last night.
The 3 biggest cities by population. State number 1 is Maryland.
Maryland. Oh, it's Maryland. So should I?
The 3 biggest cities in Maryland.
So, gee, I kind of thought it was Baltimore, right?
Or if you're a native, because I did radio.
Baltimore.
In Baltimore.
Baltimore. Right. Baltimore. I mean, the only other I'm trying to think. Well, there's also, because there's a lot of towns. I don't know which ones are considered towns and which ones are considered cities. Annapolis.
The 2 that he's got, I'm going to tell you right now. After Baltimore, the 2 that he has listed,
right,
is listed as the 3 biggest cities. I never would have gotten.
Okay. So
a couple of.
So is anybody on the chat board? Owings Mills, says Trish Sparaccio.
Good guess. Not.
I was going to say Annapolis.
I would have said Annapolis too.
Annapolis.
It's not the last 2.
What about Towson?
No. Keith James says Point of Rocks. Never heard of that, Keith. But it's not.
Well, we know it's not Ellicott City because that city's been gets washed away every 5 years. So it gets a 500-year flood every 5 years. And it can't be Hagerstown.
It's not Hagerstown.
It's not Hagerstown. And it's not Havre de Grace. And I'm trying to think of all the different, places in Maryland. Michael McGuire says Cumberland.
No.
Well, this may go for a while. Ocean City, Maggie P. No.
It's not Cucumberland either.
It's like, oh my.
People, and you know what? People are bailing on us now, Joe. Everybody say, "Have a good night, everybody."
Oh yeah, they're all running away in fear. Patrick Darcy says Frederick, Maryland.
No.
Gaithersburg from Patrick Darcy.
No. Chevy Chase, no. Gaithersburg, no.
Oh
Mary,
my.
Mary Tyler Moore, no.
No. Bethesda, Helen
No.
Bertona, Germantown, Adam Lowe. Oh boy. Yeah, I've driven through Maryland so many times, and yet, I mean, Baltimore is Baltimore, but I can't think of,
It's not Salisbury. It's not Germantown. It's not Glen Verney. It's not Lincombe Heights.
no. Well,
Patrick Darcy. Yes. Yes. Yes.
oh, Columbia, Maryland. Okay, well, that's two, and we still have one more.
Yes.
How about you tell us what letter it starts with?
S.
S.
Yes.
S. Hansel? Hansel? S. It's not Salisbury. Silver
Rich
Spring.
Romanowski. Thank you, Rich. Silver
Spring. Okay. Wow, that was a challenge. Now let's do the next state.
This should be easy because it's such a small state. It's Rhode Island.
Oh, good God. They have 3 large cities in Rhode Island? I mean, I thought it was, well, we know what's Providence, right?
Right. Right.
And then something Tucket. Something with a Tucket in it.
No, there's no Tuckets.
Woonsocket,
Yeah.
No, I don't really know. Well, to me, Rhode Island is just Providence, and then everything else is just small. No, I'm not insulting anybody from Rhode Island. I don't mean that in an insulting way. Everybody's so touchy these days, so I got to be careful when you when you speak. I just mean in terms of population size.
Look, Joe. No matter what you say,
People I can't stand it. People are just ridiculous.
no, no matter what you say nowadays, even if the vast majority of people out there laugh or they go boom, boom, as a silly joke or a pun, you're always going to offend somebody.
Good.
The new rule now. You're going to offend somebody in some way. Adam Lowe says, Joe, that's my state. Yes, Chuck Cardillo, we know about Providence. What else? No, Miss Ballerite, not Newport.
A lot of money in Newport, Rhode Island, but no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, Newport's not it.
Warwick, Michael Pryor.
Warwick, Rhode Island?
Warwick, Rhode Island, yes.
Okay. That's hard to say fast, Warwick.
Yeah.
And what's the last one? What letters does that start with?
I'm going to give you a hint, Joe.
Yeah.
If you are into old-time radio, you will get this. The Shadow. What was the Shadow's secret identity?
Oh, how should I know?
You don't know? You never got into the Shadow?
No, I never got. I mean, I know what you're talking. I know who you're talking about, but
yeah, Patrick Darcy, you got it. Cranston,
Rhode Island. Oh, okay. All right.
The secret identity of the Shadow was Lamont Cranston.
I
thought
didn't know that.
Oh, okay. Well, now you know.
No.
So
I learn new. I'm open. I have an open mind. I'm an accepting person. I'm always open to learning new things and having new experiences. So I will remember that Cranston, Rhode Island.
Yes.
And the Shadow. All right.
And the weed of crime bears bitter fruit. Crime does not pay. The Shadow knows.
Oh, good God. All right. Well, you know what? The Shadow also knows that you need to get over to Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, to get yourself some mulch and topsoil and anything else. 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town. OmniTrueValue.com is the website. And Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing network on the planet. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video. And if you use the coupon code Joe and Joe Weather Show, you get 10% off on whatever you purchase. It's not just the weather station. They have all sorts of other gadgets, gizmos, lightning detectors, laser beams, you name it, they got it. I can't find myself. There we go. So,
And the only other thing I will say relative to the Shadow is that at one time the Shadow on radio was played by Orson Welles, and Lamont Cranston's girlfriend, the Shadow's girlfriend, Joe, was played by, now get this, Agnes Moorehead.
Well, Agnes Moorehead was part of the part of a group of actors that with Orson Welles. I forgot the name of the group that they had. The Mercury Theater Group. Yeah, so they did all sorts of things. Ray Collins was part of that from Perry Mason, Lieutenant Tragg. And then there's a whole bunch of others. But yeah, Agnes Moorehead. Actually, Joe, I found a movie. I wanted to mention it to you, but I didn't write the name of the title. There's a 1951 movie. As part of the supporting cast in that movie is Agnes Moorehead and Vivian Vance in the same movie.
Ethel Mertz and Andorra.
And Andorra, yes. Anyhow, all right, that's it for tonight. So everybody tune back tomorrow at 7:35 p.m. Joe and I will be here, and we'll see you then. Thanks for being here. Nighty-night, everybody.
Good night, folks.